Does this look okay? I can't tell. But first off, let's take a thumbnail. Hello everyone, welcome back. Thanks for being here today. Today we're going to be talking about my January wrap-up. If you watched my TBR for this month, you would know that I went through a pretty heavy reading slump in the month of January, so I only managed to finish about 6 books, which honestly I'm going to give myself a bit of credit for, because one of those books ended up being like 800 pages and 6 books is still a good amount, so I'm not that mad about it. But also one of them was like 40 pages, so maybe I can be a little bit mad about it. I don't know. Anyway, we're gonna be talking about them today. I have to do my stats for you guys and then we'll get into it. I always almost forget to do my stats every single month because I'm just not used to doing it, so that's a bit annoying. Where is it? Okay. So my pages read, I read 2,143 pages. For my genres, I read 3 YA fantasy, 1 sci-fi, 1 adult fantasy, and 1 middle grade. For my year bought, I do this because I want to track, or I want to prioritize the books bought in 2019 versus the ones bought this year and last year. So I bought 5 from 2019 and then 1 from 2020, which is a good amount. I like that. My series stats, I read 3 standalone, 2 start, and 1 continuation, which is where I don't want to be. I definitely want to be more continuations than starting, but what are you gonna do, I guess, right? So yeah, let me know if there's any other stats you want me to include, because I kind of don't know. I was thinking about putting like new to me authors or like stuff like that, but I'm not sure. Let me know what you think. We're gonna get into the books finally, so make sure to like and subscribe and let's get into it. So first off, we have The Glass Arrow by Kristen Simmons. This is a YA standalone dystopian novel, and it's about a girl named Aya, and she lives in a world where women are sold off as basically to be breeders to men because women are scarce, and Aya lives in the mountains, so that means that she has basically avoided that her entire life and doesn't know what's going on until one day when she gets caught by businessmen and trackers to basically take her to the auction, and basically her story about wanting to escape and whether she can or not. So I gave this book, I think, 3 stars maybe? Yeah, 3 stars. I overall thought that it was a solid YA dystopian book. I think that for a standalone, I was actually pretty like satisfied with the ending. You know, it kind of wrapped up in a nice way, but a lot of the pacing was just weird. Like, I mean, this is like, it's a shorter book. It's not really that big, but the pacing was just off because Aya has certain times where she goes into like solitary confinement for like however many weeks that she's in there, and those parts ended up being like the longest parts, and it was just strange. Like, it kind of felt like boring in certain parts just because of the fact that you're kind of stuck with her in solitary confinement with nothing happening around her, and it was like, okay. And also, like, Aya is very judgmental of the girls that she's with. So basically in the book, when you do get captured, or, you know, in Aya's case it was captured, but in other girls' cases it's just the way of life. You get taken to like it's kind of like training for how to like do things with the men that are going to be buying them, and like how to be a lady and like stuff like that. And basically the person who's in charge also gets the money from selling them off. So Aya judges all of those girls around her for wanting to be like, you guys are being sold, you guys are just okay with being sold. And Aya was just like, I'm not like other girls, I'm just the best one here because I don't care, like I don't want to be sold. And it's like, well, you kind of can't judge them because they've been conditioned to believe that, you know, like they've been conditioned that that's the way that their life is, and that's the way that they have to be. So that was kind of annoying when it was like every other page was just being like, I'm better than them, I'm this, I'm that. And it's like, okay, we get it, like you've had a different life than them, but you can't judge them for their like upbringing. So like, I don't know, that was annoying too. But the romance in here was good. I loved the character that she is romantically involved with, and it was a pretty good book. I just wish that I want it to be like a super like feminist and like awesome dystopian book, and it really wasn't. But whatever. I mean, once again, I honestly didn't have too high of expectations in the first place, so I'm not really mad about it. Honestly. Next, we have An Ocean of Minutes by Thea Lynn. This is a adult contemporary sci-fi book. It's a lot. About a girl named Polly and her boyfriend Frank, and they are living in a flu-like pandemic in America. Tell me why I did this to myself. I have to say that the pandemic in this book and our pandemic that we're going through definitely had like no comparisons to the fact that it was flu-like. So like that wasn't like a big deal. Like I didn't see that, that didn't like really affect my rating. But So Frank ends up getting the virus, and Polly has to basically time travel, because they've mastered time travel in this book, to the future to become a bonded servant in the future. Like, I think it's like 15 years, something like that, so that Frank can get his virus or his treatment paid for. Except when Polly does end up going to time travel, her and Frank promise to meet at a certain location at a certain time, like every Saturday of the month, to find each other again. But when Polly's trip gets derailed about 5 years in the future, from like 5 years more than what Frank was gonna meet her at, she can't find Frank anymore. She has no one, she knows nothing, and she's living in a world that she's not familiar with. So she kind of has to go on a journey to find Frank to pay off her, you know, loans, to pay off her servitude and stuff like that. And I gave this book 2 stars. I thought that it was so slow and kind of boring at certain pages, and honestly, nothing good happened to this character. Like, I could not root for her because everything negative just kept happening to her, and I felt bad for her, but also, like, it was just like one negative thing after the other, and it kind of felt like it put like a big dark gray cloud above this entire book, and I did not like it. And also, like, I was reading the pages and I wasn't retaining any information about the characters or anything, and that just like sucks. And I feel like that was more of the writing perspective, because it wasn't like, the writing was okay, but it was just okay. I'm going to be spoiling this book, so if you don't want to hear the spoilers, please skip to this part. I'll write it on the screen, but skip ahead. Okay, here we go. So basically, Polly ends up having a chance to go and find Frank, and this time in the book, America is divided between like different Americas. Like, it's like the US, then there's America, so you have to go through like border and customs, and you can't go from like one place to the other so easily. So Polly ends up getting a way to go to America from the US, and basically wants to find Frank, and then lo and behold, Frank has a wife and a kid, and they're getting a divorce, so like they're not still together in the book, but like he didn't wait for her. And so Polly's upset, and that part was like made me so angry, because I was like, I literally waited this entire book to like watch them get reunited, and they weren't reunited. Anyway, so then like when Frank ends up wanting to come back to Polly after his divorce is finalized, they get like a hotel room, and then Polly just says, oh yeah, I can't be with you anymore because it's not the same. I read this entire book just for them to be back together at the end of the book, and then they didn't end up back together, and it was like, what was the point? Like, I think I wasted my time, honestly, because yeah, it's just like, what? I'm pissed off, to say the least. It was just bad. It wasn't like, that really upset me. I didn't like it, so I'm not gonna keep ranting about it. Anyway, next I read Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them by Newt Scamander. This is the part of the Hogwarts Library. Why did I say that? Why did I do that? This is part of the Hogwarts Library collection, and it's based off of one of the books, the textbooks in the Harry Potter series. Gave it 2 stars. The only book I think I liked from this collection was The Tales of Beedle the Bard, because it was actually stories, but like, the shit was boring to me. Like, I don't know, like, I don't like reading textbooks, and it was just a textbook, and like, there were some interesting parts about it, and but otherwise it was just like, no. Yeah. I wanted just to complete it, honestly. So I finished the series, it's over with, it's done. I'm never gonna pick it up again. I'm most likely gonna get rid of the entire series. So yeah. Next we have Caraval by Stephanie Garber. I'm gonna read the synopsis because synopsis is really, really good. So I'll read it to you. Okay, so it says, I lost it. Whatever you've heard about Caraval, it doesn't compare to the reality. It's more than just a game or a performance. It's the closest you ever find to magic in this world. Scarlet has never left the tiny island where she and her beloved sister Tella live with their powerful and cruel father. Now, Scarlet's father has arranged a marriage for her, and Scarlet thinks her dreams of seeing Caraval, the far-away, once-a-year performance where the audience participates in the show, are over. But this year, Scarlet's long dreamt of invitation. That's such a weirdly worded sentence. Okay. But this year, Scarlet's finally receives an invitation, and with the help of a mysterious sailor, Tella whisks Scarlet away to the show. Only as soon as they arrive, Tella is kidnapped by Caraval's mastermind organizer, Legend. It turns out that this season of Caraval runs around Tella, and whoever finds her first is the winner. Scarlet has been told that everything that happens during Caraval is only an elaborate performance, but she nevertheless becomes enmeshed in a game of love, heartbreak, and magic with other players in the game. And whether Caraval is real or not, she must find Tella before the 5 nights of the game are over. A dangerous domino effect of consequences is set off, and her sister disappears forever. Welcome to Caraval. Be aware of getting swept too far away. I gave us 5 stars. I loved it. It was so good. Stephanie Garber really just did such a good job of creating this amazing world. Like, the world building was amazing. It felt like I was actually there in Caraval on the island with them, and I just absolutely loved this book. It was very like dark atmosphere, which I really liked, but like in a cool way, like a dark circus kind of way, and it was interesting. And it was like very whimsical, very like everything. And it had some parts where I was like genuinely like afraid of what was going to happen to them next, and I loved that. And also, the romance in this book was impeccable. I love Julian and Scarlett together. I think that they're so good, and I love them. And also, ended on kind of a cliffhanger too, so I'm excited to get the second book. I actually bought the second book recently. It should be getting here any day now, so I'm like excited for it because, yeah, I loved it. I think that you should read it if you haven't already, and I thought that it was so, so good. House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J Maas. This is one of her new adult YA fantasy. No, adult fantasy books. It's about a girl named Bryce Quinlan, and she has the perfect life in her own view. She parties all night with her friends, and then she goes to work all day, and she's living the life until one day her best friend is murdered by someone. And as far as Bryce knows, that person does get put behind bars until one day someone else gets murdered in the same exact fashion that her best friend was murdered in. And then we are introduced to Hunt Athalar, and Hunt is a bonded slave to the archangel of Bryce's like city, to Crescent City I should say, and he has to basically commit a lot of murders and do Micah's dirty work, which is his, you know, bondservant, or his owner. I don't know. I don't know what to say. Anyway, his owner, to basically gain his freedom. But then Micah strikes a deal with him, saying that if you go and find the killer of these people, then you can be free. So Hunt and Bryce are put together to go and find the murderer of these people. And yeah, I gave it 5 stars. I did a rating vlog for this, a spoiler-free one, which is probably going to be going up on Sunday, so make sure to watch it because you're going to see a lot of things happen in that vlog where I'm like absolutely freaking out because I just fucking love this book. So the first 200 pages were actually pretty slow, and I was actually afraid that it was going to be like on my most disappointing books of the year, which is not a good feeling, but like after this, there's a train going by. Wow, this is the second time. I think the last video happened too. I don't think you can hear it anymore. Okay, so, where was I forgot where I was. Okay. Okay, so after the 200 page mark point, it ended up getting really, really good. Which this is an 800 page book, so it kind of makes sense why the first 200 pages were so slow, because it mostly was just like world building, getting to know Bryce as a character, and then things happen after that point because it kind of like is progressing in the story, which it doesn't look like it's 800 pages, but these pages are like Bible thin pages, so it was daunting to look at, and me kind of already going through a reading slump, it was just making it kind of worse, which, like I said, after those 200 pages though, amazing. Hunt, I looked up fan art for him because I wanted to see what he looked like, and he's hot. Like, I knew that he was hot when I read the book, but like it just made like my crush for him like skyrocket after that point, because he literally is just so hot, and I was like, him and Bryce together, I love them. They're so awesome. This romance is very slow burn, and they haven't, like, I'm still waiting for like an amazing sex scene between them, which is probably going to come in the next book, but like I'm just so ready for it because I want it to happen so badly. But like, very slow burn, they are perfect together. I love them together, and in classic Sarah J Maas fashion, in classic Sarah J Maas fashion, things get ripped away from you, and then they come back, and then they get ripped away from you again, and it's just, I loved it. Also, the world building is amazing. The different mythical creatures in this book are amazing. I love Lahava. I was at work when I finished that book, so like I started crying at work. Like, I'm not even joking. Like, once I got like those like past like 200 pages, I was crying at work, like full on. Like, I wasn't like sobbing, but like I had tears like coming down my face at work, which I wish I got on vlog, but I didn't because I can't film at work. But like, oh my god, it was amazing, and this book is just so good. And just know that if you're gonna read it, make sure to stick through those first 200 pages because it does get a million times better. So yeah, 5 stars, loved it. I'm also really upset because we don't have a cover or a title yet for the next book. It's supposed to come out in November, but who knows? I really hope it does because I want to read it like really badly, even though it's so far away. Let's hope, okay? Because I really want to read it. And then lastly, we have Prince Caspian by C.S. Lewis. This is the second book in the Chronicles of Narnia series. And it's basically following, this book is following Lucy, Edmund, Susan, and Peter as they go back to Narnia and are called there by Prince Caspian, who is the son of someone called the Telmarines, which basically that group of humans have taken control of Narnia and also tramped out every single like mythical creature and like all the lore that goes along with Narnia, and Prince Caspian wants to restore it and has to call on the Four to bring it back to normal. And I gave that book 3 stars. I don't think it holds up as much as The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe did. I think that it doesn't hold that much nostalgia or whimsy for me anymore, and a lot of it was like boring because this book is like 200 pages long, so it's not very long, but the first like 150 pages are just the gang trying to figure out where they are, and like, because they didn't know that they're in Narnia until like the 150 page mark. So like they're stuck on an island, have no idea what they're doing here, and like trying to survive, and then they finally get to go see Caspian like towards like the last like 50 pages of the book, and it was just boring. Like, I don't know, like that part was like boring, and yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna enjoy the rest of the series as much as I enjoyed the first book. Because The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe I did give 5 stars to. Obviously, it's a really good book, so I don't know if it's going to hold up like the first book does. So that's upsetting, but once again, like, I don't really know how much of an expectation I set for it in the first place. So yeah. Anyway, that's it. And kind of on a negative note, but did find some really good reads this month. A lot of reads are probably going to end up on my favorites of the year, so that's exciting. Reading Slump and all, I feel like I still did a pretty good job, so yeah. Hope that you guys enjoy this. Make sure to like and subscribe, and have a good one, and I hope that you're doing well, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.